So what is the best way to lose weight? The easy answer is you need to burn more calories than you consume, or to look at it in the other direction, to eat fewer calories than you use in a day. Every pound of fat contains about 3,500 calories, so if you are 500 calories below your maintenance level each day of the week for 7 days, you'll burn about a pound of fat. This is generally regarded a safe, reliable, and repetitive pace at which to lose fat. If you lose it faster, you may start running into some problems. If you lose it slower, well, you may not end up losing much at all, but you probably will. The trick there is to figure out how many calories you need on average per day, that's your maintenance level, and to subtract 500 and just make sure you have that many calories. But the way that you go about losing fat may not cause you to lose weight. The best thing that most people do is to put on muscle. Every pound of muscle you put on burns an average of 6 to 10 calories per day just from existing, just from having it on your body. You don't need to do any extra work. Your body needs to work to maintain that muscle, so you burn calories just from having it. That means if you put on 10 pounds of muscle, over the course of a year, you're going to burn about 10 pounds of fat just from having that extra 10 pounds of muscle. That means at the end of the year, 10 pounds of muscle up, 10 pounds of fat down, your weight is not going to have changed. If you start putting on a lot more muscle, your weight actually might go up even if your fat is decreasing. So if you want to lose weight, I think the most important question to ask is, do you actually want to lose weight or do you want to lose fat? If you want to lose fat, that's really all there is to it. Consume fewer calories than you burn. If you want to lose weight, then you need to do that while making sure that you're not gaining any muscle, or any bone mass, or really anything else. But throughout the year, throughout the weeks, from day to day, your weight is probably going to change for a variety of reasons. If you hit a heavy workout at the gym, you're probably going to have some water retention, you're probably going to have some inflammation, and you're probably going to have eaten a whole lot of food to make sure you keep your calories up, and it may not have all processed through you. That means when you measure yourself the next morning, your weight's going to be higher. But if you measure yourself again the next day or the day after that, it might have suddenly dropped. These things will shift from day to day. There have been days I go up 3 pounds, days I go down 2 pounds. Over time, though, my overall weight has been going a little bit down, but it's also been staying a little more steady than I expected, probably because I'm gaining muscle as I'm losing fat. The number that I see on the scale is right about level. The other important thing to remember is that muscle is denser than fat. Fat takes up about 20% more room than muscle does. If I remember right, it's 0.9 grams per cubic centimeter for fat, 1.1 grams per cubic centimeter for muscle. Muscle is not going to help you float any. Fat, being less dense than water, will help you float. So the amount of room that muscle takes up for the equal amount of weight is less than the room fat takes up. You can actually end up being heavier while having lower fat if you have more muscle. And if you have more muscle, the amount of fat that's on you is not going to look quite as much as it does if you don't have as much muscle, just because the muscle is there to round it out, give shape, give definition, and provide an overall structure that is more appealing than, well, how I was a number of years ago when I was 220 with much less muscle and a hell of a gut. So, if you are thinking of losing weight, I do recommend you ask yourself instead, is it important that you lose weight or important that you lose fat? If you're just trying to lose fat, and you want to do that by gaining muscle and becoming more fit, then just keep in mind that the number on the scale may actually stay about the same, and if you gain a lot of muscle, may actually go up, even if the amount of fat that's in your body goes down. Generally speaking for men, if you have more than 15% body fat with a respectable amount of muscle, you're probably going to look pretty thick. If you have less than 15%, and especially if you're closer to 10% and you have a good amount of muscle, you're probably going to look pretty fit. Ultimately, your goal in losing weight or losing fat or gaining muscle really comes down to what you want to do. If you just want to look good, if you just want to look trim, you want to look fit, you want to fill your shirts out in a pleasant way, then gaining a bit of muscle, losing a bit of fat is going to serve you just fine. If you want to become very strong, well, you're probably going to end up gaining a bit of fat during your bulking phases and losing a bit of fat during your cutting phases, and all the while that's going on, you're going to be gaining muscle, so your overall weight will increase. At my highest I was about 220, when I had very little muscle and much more fat. At my lowest I was about 190, when I had much less fat but also not all that much muscle. As I am now, I'm 205. I still have a fair amount of fat, I think about 15%, but the amount of muscle I have in me is a heck of a lot more than it used to be. Right now I'm in the middle of a cutting phase, so I am trying to cut down on the fat, and that, because I'm restricting calories, means I'm not growing muscle as fast, and I'm just looking to maintain it. So the number on the scale should decrease, but after about a month I'm going to switch back to bulking so it's easier to grow muscle, and what comes with that is that I will inevitably gain a little bit of extra fat, and I'll just have to go through these cycles over and over. So, whatever it is that you're aiming for, just keep in mind that the way you word it and what it is you intend to do may change how you go about those goals. If you're looking to cut fat though, what it really comes down to is eating fewer calories than you burn. And if you cut down 500 calories per day from your maintenance level, at the end of the week you'll have burned about a pound of fat, even if it doesn't show up on the scale. You may have water retention, you may have inflammation, there may be food that hasn't processed through, but you'll be about a pound of fat less than you had at the beginning of the week, and it just may take a little bit of time for that number to show up on the scale. The other important thing to realize, though, is that how you go about losing fat could actually become problematic. Generally speaking, if your body already has very low fat, let's say 5%, it's probably going to be very difficult to lose that fat, and it becomes a little bit lethal. Your body does need a certain amount of fat in order to make sure the organs stay warm, everything stays cushioned, and you have reserves of energy that keep you alive between meals. When you get very low, that may not end up being the case. The other things to keep in mind is that if you try to cut fat very quickly, let's say if you drop yourself down to about 1,200 calories per day, your body may enter starvation mode. This means it's going to prioritize hanging on to fat because it loves having energy in reserve, and it'll consume everything else it can in order to keep that fat, including your muscle, possibly your organs, maybe your bones, anything and everything in order to make sure it has reserves in store. If you take a little bit more of a middling approach, and you cut down fat fairly rapidly, let's say 1,000 calories a day or a little more from your maintenance level, you can probably keep that up for a fair amount of time before your body starts to become accustomed to that and eventually hits a plateau. So if you are cutting weight quickly, or if you're cutting weight for a long time, it's important to take days off now and then to eat at your maintenance level and let your body reset itself however it is. Just give it time to take a break from the progress you've been pushing it through, and then resume your journey and let your fat continue to drip away. One strange fact that's always interested me is that when your body does break down fat to use it for energy, it turns it into two things: water and carbon dioxide. So, you will end up peeing out and breathing out most of your fat. If I remember right, it's about 80% of the fat weight that gets breathed out. So, I guess if you're looking to lose weight or lose fat, just remember to keep on breathing. It's pretty important.